You have been underestimated your entire life. People have looked at your silence and read it as absence. They have looked at your stillness and read it as weakness. They have watched you say less than everyone else in the room and assumed you had less to offer. And you let them think that, not because you couldn't correct them, but because something in you understood something they didn't. That the man who reveals everything controls nothing, and the man who reveals nothing controls everything. This video is about you, the quiet one, the one they always underestimate, the one they never see coming. And by the end of it, you will understand exactly why your silence is the most powerful weapon you have ever carried. Let me ask you something. Think about the most powerful man you have ever been in a room with. Not the loudest, not the most talkative, not the one performing his confidence the hardest. The most powerful. The one whose presence you felt before you could explain it. The one who made you slightly more conscious of yourself without doing anything visible to create that effect. Was he the one talking the most? Almost certainly not. He was the one watching, the one listening, the one who spoke rarely, but when he did, the room adjusted. Because the room had learned through experience that when this man speaks, he has been thinking while everyone else was talking. And what he has been thinking is always worth hearing. This is the quiet man. And the world is full of people who have never understood what they are looking at when they look at him. Here is what silence actually does in a social environment that most people never realize. It accumulates. Every moment of silence in a room where everyone else is spending their words freely is a moment where the quiet man is building something invisible. Information about everyone in the room. About who they are when they perform, about what they want, about where every conversation is actually going beneath the surface. The loud man is busy broadcasting. He is sending. He is performing. He is managing the impression he is creating in real time, which means he is not receiving. He is not watching. He is not building the picture of the room that the quiet man is building in complete stillness. By the time the quiet man finally speaks, he knows more about every person in the room than any of them know about him. And that asymmetry, that information advantage that was built in complete silence, is a form of power that no amount of confident talking can ever produce. The Stoics understood this completely. Marcus Aurelius practiced something he called the observer stance, the discipline of watching before engaging, of understanding the terrain before moving through it, of knowing what you are dealing with before you reveal what you are capable of. The quiet man does this naturally, and it gives him an advantage in every room he enters that the loud men in that room will never fully understand. Here is why people fear the quiet man, even when they cannot articulate why. It is not his physical presence. It is not any visible threat he communicates. It is something far more unsettling. They cannot read him. And the inability to read a person activates a primal discomfort in the human nervous system. We are wired to read people, to assess their emotional state, their intentions, their level of threat or safety. We do this constantly and mostly unconsciously through the signals people send. Their words, their tone, their body language, their reactions. But the quiet man sends almost none of these signals. He reveals nothing of his emotional state. Nothing of his assessment of the situation. Nothing of what he is thinking or feeling or planning. And that absence of readable signal creates an unease in the people around him that they cannot quite place. They do not know where they stand with him. They do not know what he thinks of them. They do not know what he is capable of. And uncertainty about another person's capacity is the closest thing to genuine fear that most people experience in ordinary social situations. The quiet man does not create this effect deliberately. He creates it simply by being himself, by refusing to perform for the room, by choosing to reveal only what he decides to reveal, and keeping everything else exactly where it belongs, inside, where no one can access it without his permission. Epictetus was perhaps the quietest philosopher who ever lived, a man who had every reason to be loud, who had been enslaved, whose freedom had been taken, whose body had been damaged deliberately by the man who owned him. And yet the accounts of those who knew him describe a man of extraordinary stillness, who spoke with a precision that made every word land like something decided rather than something improvised, who never raised his voice, who never performed his philosophy for approval, who simply lived it, and whose presence was so completely without the noise of ego that people were drawn to him from across the ancient world to sit in his company and hear what he had to say. Not because he was loud, because he was true. And truth spoken quietly by a man who has nothing to prove carries a weight that volume can never replicate. This is the quality of the quiet man, not the silence of someone who has nothing to say. The silence of someone who has decided that most situations do not deserve what he carries, and who saves the full weight of himself for the moments that do. Here is the practical reality of being the quiet man that I want to close with. You have been told your whole life to speak more, to be more present, to participate more visibly, to make yourself more known to the room. And you have spent years wondering if the quiet is a limitation. If you are somehow less because you choose silence where others choose noise. You are not less. You are more disciplined, more observant, more aware of the value of what you carry than to spend it freely on rooms that haven't earned it. The quiet man is not waiting to be discovered. He is not holding back out of fear. He is not performing humility while secretly desperate to be seen. He is simply operating at a frequency that most of the room cannot access. And he has made peace with the fact that most of the room never will. Because the quiet man does not need the room to understand him. He only needs himself to understand himself. And that understanding, that complete self-possession in a world that rewards performance over substance, is the rarest and most genuinely dangerous quality a man can carry. Keep the silence, protect the stillness, and let the room spend years trying to figure you out. They will not succeed. And that is exactly the point. If this described you, subscribe. We build here every single week. Drop a comment. Are you the quiet one that people always underestimate? Drop yes. See you in the next one.